خلينا ناخد دكتور العريان، دكتور محمد العريان، في هذا الحوار الذي أجريناه عبر الأقمار الصناعية من كاليفورنيا. أهلا بكم، ومعنا عبر الأقمار الصناعية من كاليفورنيا الدكتور محمد العريان، الخبير الاقتصادي العالمي طبعا، تشيف ايكونوميك ادفايزر لمجموعة اليونز المالية، وتشير اوف بريزنس جلوبال ديفلوبمنت كونسل. دكتور عريان، يعني هنجري هذا الحوار باللغة الإنجليزية، لكن أنا هحاول أترجم أسئلتي بس بالعربية، والترجمة طبعا لكلام الدكتور عريان هتكون بسبتايتلز على الشاشة. هذا الحوار هنحاول فيه أن نتعرف على رأي واحد من أهم الخبراء الاقتصاديين في العالم، وهو مصري اوريجينالي، يعني مصري الجنسية، عن رأيه فيما يحدث. دكتور عريان هو عضو المجلس التنسيقي للسياسات المالية والنقدية في مصر. الإصلاح الاقتصادي، إلى أين نتجه؟ هل نحن في الاتجاه الصحيح؟ ماذا نتوقع؟ هل يمكن أن نعيش بدون هذا الإصلاح؟ كل دي أسئلة مهمة جدا تدور في أذهاننا ونسأل عليها دكتور عريان. دكتور عريان, thank you very much for being with us. I know it's from California. I know how busy your schedule is.
أنا اللي شاكر جدا، وأنا آسف إن أنا هرد بالإنجليزي، بس بقالي 40 سنة عايش في خارج والعربي بتاعي مكسر شوية.
لا thank you very much, that's okay. أنا بشكرك جدا، وخليني أبدأ بسؤالك. How do you evaluate the economic reform program, the Egyptian economic reform program? كيف تقيم برنامج الإصلاح الاقتصادي المصري بما اطلعت عليه يعني؟
بصي, Egypt is in a difficult position. Tourism is down 50%. Revenue from the Suez Canal is challenged by the global economic slowdown. Remittances from the Arab world are coming down. And all this is compounding many years of low growth. So the situation is not an easy one. It requires that Egypt reform its economy. And what's being put forward has 4 very important elements. First, pro-growth structural reforms to make sure that the economy can grow faster. Second, protecting the most vulnerable segment of the population. Third, trying to reduce our big deficits on the balance of payments and on the budget. And finally, securing financing from the rest of the world to facilitate the adjustment. I think that is the right focus. And as the president said, it's tough, but it's necessary.
That's my second question. How necessary is this? Can we live without it? يعني الناس بتسأل هل نستطيع ان احنا نكمل بدون هذا برنامج الإصلاح الاقتصادي؟ لأن هذا برنامج قد يتسبب في آلام، يعني ده هيؤدي إلى ارتفاع الأسعار، إلى موجة تضخمية. الناس ممكن تسأل طب واحنا ليه لازم يكون عندنا economic reform program؟ نقدر نعيش من غير هذا البرنامج يا دكتور ولا لا؟
لا ما نقدرش. أنا ممكن أديك رد كاقتصادي. بقالنا 6 سنين with a budget deficit of more than 10% of GDP, which means our debt is growing too fast. We depend every year on 18 billion of inflows from the rest of the world to cover our import bill. That's too much. I can give you many economic answers, but let me tell you the most important answer. The person in the streets feels economic insecurity. They see that growth isn't fast enough. They see that incomes are stagnating. They see prices go up too quickly. And most important and most correct, they know that our potential is much better than this. The economy can grow much faster if we implement reforms. So these reforms are absolutely necessary, and without them, the situation would be worse.
is this an Egyptian program or is it imposed on us by the IMF? تعرف ان تجربة الدول مع صندوق النقد الدولي مش دايما كانت تجربة عظيمة. يشعر المواطن في الشارع ان يعني هناك conditions وشروط تملى علينا من صندوق النقد الدولي بغض النظر عما يحدث في الشارع، بغض النظر عن احوالهم هم الشخصية. Is this our own homegrown program or is it imposed to us on us from the IMF من صندوق النقد الدولي؟
بصي أنا فاهم جدا الانسكيورتي دي. أنا اشتغلت 15 سنة في الصندوق and I have seen cases of successful programs and I've seen cases of unsuccessful programs. What is the difference? زي ما حضرتك قلتي أهم حاجة that the program is domestically formulated to take account of the situation on the ground. Second, it is very important to have political commitment to this program because implementation is very important. Third, it's important to have external financing. And fourth, it's very important to protect the most vulnerable segment of the population. Egypt has all these elements in the current program. What's important is to explain it to people, build trust, because our trust with the IMF has been very low, and continuously monitor implementation because mid-course corrections will probably be needed.
Before I ask you about the mid-course corrections, which is very important, let me ask you about the measures itself. Some of the measures reducing the subsidies on the oil products and flotation or devaluation. Do you think we can do them both? Do you think we can take those two steps at the same time, or is it dangerous? They will definitely result in a big inflation move.
I've been following the Egyptian economies for decades. I am a great optimist when it comes to the Egyptian economy. This is an economy that can grow very rapidly. And for very simple things, we have a very important domestic market. We have a wonderful location. We have very good physical attributes. And most importantly, we have very talented Egyptians that have massive opportunities if only we unleash their energy. In the short term, we have to do some difficult things. And you mentioned two difficult things. But these are a means to something much better. Let me give you an image. It's a very simple image when I آسف جدا. But it's an image from my youth from us. I would be asked often to help push a car to get it started. But once the car got started, the momentum would build up and it would start driving very, very well. This is the history of the Egyptian economy. Once you get it going, it can grow at a high rate, in an inclusive rate, and you can reduce the imbalances because the potential of this economy is so huge.
لكن المواطن اللي بيتفرج علينا دلوقتي يا دكتور بيقول هذا كلام اقتصاديين. هل يتحمل المواطن الموجة التضخمية القادمة، ارتفاع الأسعار الناتج عن خفض الدعم على البنزين وأيضا الفلوتيشن أو تعويم الجنيه أو تخفيض قيمته؟ هل المواطن يتحمل كل هذه الإجراءات معا؟
بصي, when I said the four things, I made it very clear that a very important element is the social program. It's the protection of the most vulnerable segments of the society. Part of that protection is to ensure that when we rationalize subsidies, it is to reduce the waste involved in the subsidies, بالذات في البنزين. So I totally understand. Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty. Yes, there's a lot of insecurity. But we cannot continue like this. If we continue like this, we will have a debt problem, a growth problem, and an inflation problem.
في فبراير حضرتك قلت انه يعني don't rush into flotation، لا تهرعوا الى التعويم، وان الفلوتيشن لوحده او تعويم الجنيه لوحده لا يكفي، وانه سياسة واحدة ضمن مجموعة سياسات other policies that should be taken، سياسات اخرى يجب ان تتخذ. هل ما زلت عند رأيك؟ هل شايف ان don't rush into flotation or are we very late؟ هل اتأخرنا قوي فالآن هندفع الثمن غالي؟ احنا دلوقتي بنتكلم على سعر في البنك وسعر في الخارج تقريبا ضعفه.
Yes, and that speaks to the importance of moving forward quickly. اللي أنا قلته في فبراير is the exchange rate is not the main cause of Egypt's economic challenges, nor is it the main solution to Egypt's economic challenges. It's one of the elements, and it has to be put in a package that emphasizes pro-growth economic reforms, social protection, and better fiscal policy to reduce the deficit. If we do that, then the reform of the currency market will contribute to economic growth. As regards the parallel market right now, let me tell you something else that's very important as an economist. What you see in the parallel market is not the equilibrium exchange rate. It reflects elements of uncertainty, elements of risk, so it's well above where Egypt's equilibrium exchange rate is. And I have seen this in many, many countries where the uncertainty and insecurity gets reflected in the parallel rate.
So how do you regain that confidence? الاقتصاد هو حالة من الثقة وكمان حالة من قيادة التوقعات. managing expectations. How do you manage expectations and how do you regain confidence تستعيد الثقة للاقتصاد المصري مرة أخرى؟
You need only see what happened last year in March at the economic conference of Sharm el-Sheikh. People from all over the world came to Egypt and they signaled their willingness to invest in Egypt because they understand that this economy is able to grow very quickly. They understand the talents of the Egyptians. They understand the massive opportunities there. So with a bit of reforms, you will see the response of the outside world. And the most important thing is to continuously explain to Egyptian citizens why it is that these reforms are necessary, what to expect. When I go on a journey with my daughter, it's very important to tell her where the destination is, when are we going to get there, and what the journey is going to look like. And part of a successful program is continuous communication and feedback with people in the street so that they understand the necessity of the reform program and the considerable upside of the Egyptian economy.
You've been talking about mid-term corrections. إصلاحات منتصف الطريق. ماذا يعني إصلاحات منتصف الطريق؟ ماذا يمكن أن يحدث فنصححه في منتصف الطريق يا دكتور وإزاي؟
بصي احنا عايشين في عالم غريب جدا. بصي اللي بيحصل في أمريكا، بصي اللي بيحصل في أوروبا. يعني in the United Kingdom, they had just voted to exit the European Union. This was unimaginable a year ago. You're having very strange political developments in the US, in Europe. You're having negative interest rates in Japan. Yani, think a little bit. You lend your money and you pay for the privilege of lending money. Why am I telling you all this? Because we are living in a very fluid global economy. It is very difficult to predict the global economy today. And therefore, as part of this global economy, it's very important to be responsive, to be able to adjust to all these things happening. Economic policy making is very dynamic. You have to be able to adjust as you go forward. And we are living in a very uncertain global economy right now.
But what about our midterm corrections، يعني لما نبدأ في هذا البرنامج ماذا قد يحدث خطأ فيمكن تصليحه ونصلحه ازاي؟ توقعاتك ايه لهذا البرنامج؟ ايه اللي ممكن يحصل صح وازاي ممكن يعني how can we make it go right؟
اللي ممكن يحصل صح إن شاء الله is what I call a positive confidence shock. Right now, a lot of people are holding back, waiting to see what's going to happen. There's uncertainty, so they're becoming more careful. Inshallah, if you get a positive confidence shock, you get more involvement of the Egyptian private sector, you get more involvement of foreign direct investment, and then you start building a momentum that facilitates economic growth, that lowers inflation, that lowers the deficits. These are all things that the economy is capable of. So what can go really well, inshallah, is that you get a very early positive confidence shock.
وإيه اللي ممكن يحصل غلط يا دكتور؟ What could go wrong?
So what could go wrong is that people feel still very insecure, that they don't understand enough the reforms, and that we delay this positive confidence shock. It's very important to always explain to people why it is that these reforms are necessary. زي ما حضرتك قلتي في الأول, we cannot continue on the current path. And I think people know that. They see what's happening to inflation, and they know that there's a need for economic reforms. And the important thing is just to explain why this program can help achieve a better future, not just for the current generation, but أهم كمان, but for our children and for our grandchildren.
Are you for a total flotation ولا managed devaluation؟ هل انت حضرتك مع تعويم كامل للجنيه ولا بتشوف ان هو يكون تعويم مدار، يعني ينزل devaluate ينزل قيمته شوية، يعني يدار هذا التعويم؟
Look, I am not in a position, and I haven't been part of the negotiations to tell you what is better. But what I can tell you is we have to stop obsessing about the exchange rate. We have made the exchange rate as the biggest element. Yeah. When the details of the programs come out, I will be as interested, Yefendim, in the pro-growth structural reforms. That's very important. In the protection of the poor, in the emphasis on the social sectors, health, education. We must view this as a whole package and as a package that unleashes the amazing potential of Egypt and of its people.
Private sector is a very important part of all of this. القطاع الخاص جزء مهم جدا من كل هذه العملية الاقتصادية. القطاع الخاص المصري الآن محجم، الآن وارد، لا يتوسع. يعني كيف يمكن استعادة نشاط القطاع الخاص مرة أخرى ليكون هو اللاعب الرئيسي في تحريك النمو وتشغيل الناس؟
My experience tell you that in situations like this, القطاع الخاص follows but does not lead. It follows reforms, it follows greater certainty, it follows better public finances. The government has to take the lead in establishing the environment for the private sector. And if the government does that, then you will see the private sector following higher investment, higher employment. And it's not just a question of القطاع الخاص المصري, but you will also see the private sector outside come in with investments, not debt, investments. It's a situation where the government leads in creating the enabling environment, and then القطاع الخاص follows. But the القطاع الخاص in these situations will not lead, it will follow.
Let me take you away from the Egyptian case and ask you about the region, المنطقة العربية. ونحن نشهد تغيرات اقتصادية كثيرة نتيجة طبعا لتغير سعر النفط انخفاضا وارتفاعا. السعودية لأول مرة بتطرح سندات، الإمارات بترفع الدعم عن المحروقات، كذلك دول أخرى. كيف ترى اقتصاديات المنطقة؟ هل نحن في خطر؟ هل هذه المنطقة in a great danger مع تراجع أهمية النفط في الاقتصاد العالمي وظهور بقى النفط الأحفوري وظهور مصادر أخرى للطاقة؟
It's not easy for the Gulf Cooperation Council to have oil revenues come down by half. This is a big adjustment. And what we're seeing, as you said, is a massive adjustment. Saudi Arabia just put forward its Vision 2030, a very ambitious economic reform program that involves elements that at one point were deemed unthinkable. The partial privatization of Aramco, the oil company, taxes on individuals, opening up the country to tourism. These are all elements that at one time were thought to be unlikely. The United Arab Emirates has moved in terms of its energy prices, increasing its energy prices. Again, it was deemed to be unthinkable. So what we are seeing is that countries in the Gulf Cooperation Council realize that they have to adjust. They realize that oil prices are not going back up to $100 a barrel anytime soon. And they are taking, like Egypt, tough but necessary measures.
Dr. Aryan, you've said lately also that central banks are not anymore in control of the world's economies. أن البنوك المركزية في العالم لم تعد تتحكم في الاقتصاديات. How is that and why did that happen?
So if you look at the United States and Europe, something very peculiar has happened. Because growth has been too low for too long, and because the benefits of this growth have gone to a very small segment of the population, citizens have become angry. And their anger has translated into paralyzed politics. In the United States, for example, for the last 6 years, Congress has not approved the budget. And the annual budget is the most basic element of economic governance. Because policy has been paralyzed, central banks that are politically autonomous have stepped in to try and keep the economies growing, but they don't have the right tools. For like a doctor who gives you the wrong medication, at some point, the side effects of this medication become a problem. And this is what's happening now in the Western economies. The side effects of relying too much on central banks are being felt. The answer is not for central banks to do nothing. The answer is for governments to complement what central banks are doing with more comprehensive economic reforms. And this is part, Yafendim, of a general global economic malaise that is translating, in the case of the United States and Europe, into very bizarre politics.
Dr. Aryan, I want to thank you very much for this chance. And if you want to give the government, the Egyptian government, three advices, what would you advise the government? 3 pieces of advice. 3 نصايح للحكومة المصرية الآن. تفضل.
And I mean to give advice. I would just say one thing that I see very clearly من الخارج. Neither Egypt, its people, nor its government should underestimate the country's and the people's enormous potential. I see how individual Egyptians succeed. They do extremely well when enabled. Don't underestimate this enormous potential of the Egyptian people and of Egypt itself.
And what do you tell the people, الناس اللي بتتفرج علينا دلوقتي اللي قلقانة من economic reforms? What would you tell them? بتقول ايه للناس يا دكتور؟
أقول لهم أنا فاهم القلق. طبعا في قلق. ده تغيير كبير. But it's necessary. And if we all come in and work together, the upside is enormous for not only us, but for our children and for our grandchildren. We know that we can do better, and we have the basis, inshallah, to realize the upside potential of the country.
D.محمد العريان, I'm very happy that we had this chance. We've been trying to have it for a very long time. بس أنا بشكرك شكرا جزيلا على وجودك معنا على هنا العاصمة. رأيك دايما بنقدره، ليس فقط كخبير اقتصادي عالمي ولكن كرجل مصري نعرف أنه يحب هذا البلد، ومهما ابتعدت عنها فأنا عارفة أن أنت يعني مصر بداخلك لها مكانة كبيرة دائما. بشكرك شكرا جزيلا يا دكتور.
أنا شاكر ليكي، وده يا فندم ده شرف كبير ليا، وأنا آسف تاني إن أنا رديت بالإنجليزي.
أشكرك شكرا جزيلا. شكرا. د.محمد العريان، الخبير الاقتصادي العالمي وعضو المجلس التنسيقي للسياسات النقدية والمالية، كان معنا عبر الأقمار الصناعية من كاليفورنيا.